Hey again, guys. Do you know what I like to do before I go for my second workout today? I like to look at some baseball cards. I have a lot on my mind. I have been going through some hobby burnout and not really, I've been allowing outside factors to affect my collecting enjoyment. And I have something really cool to show you. Um, I just wanted to talk about this briefly. And that is it the start of a new era? Is the old era for us YouTube sports card collectors gone? And why I ask that is, it's a totally different world on here from a few years ago. You have all these, wannabe influencers who come on and portray themselves as experts in investing or card knowledge that they don't have. A lot of drama. Like the channels, I've noticed that a lot of the channels I've always watched and interacted with are making far less videos. Some of them no videos at all. And when I'm searching for things to watch, it's just the news channels, the drama channels, talking about, I don't know, it's just like hobby talk and what's going to happen next and Panini this and PSA that. And I mean, we're not talking, I don't see a lot of talking about collecting or cards anymore. And I haven't been able to find a whole lot to watch. And then, there's this phenomenon going on now where, like, a lot of the new, I'm going to call them influencers for lack of a better word, because just because you are on here doesn't mean you're an influencer. It's like if you are a rapper and you make an album and sell 1,000 of them, it doesn't make you a superstar like Drake. So just because you're on here giving your opinion doesn't make you an influencer. I'm not an influencer. Like, an influencer is somebody who has a ton of following and can influence people. To me, that's what an influencer is. So for lack of a better word, I'm going to say influencers who are coming on. And I guess this may have a place since there's a lot of new collectors, but it kind of frustrates me because they'll be like, Topps is a baseball card company and they made baseball cards. And this is a 1972 Topps card. And this is a 1971 Topps card. And let me tell you how you could tell the difference, how you could tell them apart. Like real basic stuff that I'm watching and I'm seeing the same stuff over and over, and then like almost like kindergarten, like you're talking to kindergartners, just because you collected back in the 90s doesn't mean we're all morons and don't know anything about cards. Like it's rather insulting to talk to us all this way, to me. Now I saw Theo Clemente Collector did a rant on PSA today. I've long believed that PSA has brainwashed the hobby and is a big way responsible for my frustration with it. And not just them directly, but everybody's addiction to them and that whole thing. I'm not even going to go into that again. But I'm just finding it harder and harder to find stuff to watch that is interesting. It's just either real basic, mundane stuff with, or it's a lot of drama or, that kind of stuff. And it's been frustrating me. And I don't like where the hobby's at right now. And, I collected my entire life. So over the course of 40 years or whatever, it never really changed much. Sure, there were some ups and downs. Sure, grading was introduced, things like that. And yes, during the 90s boom, a lot of emphasis put on value. But it was a reasonable value. It wasn't, hundreds of thousands of dollars for rookie prospects. And, you know, my wife always prides me on the fact that when people come over and do a tour of my room, or they find out that I have a large baseball card collection, you know, what's the first thing they always ask, right? What's your most valuable card? And I refuse to answer because that's not what it's about to me. And she actually likes that, you know. She'll always tell everybody, when you go up and see his room, don't ask him what the room's worth. Don't ask him what his most valuable card is, because he's not going to tell you. Because if that's, you know, it's just... Anyway, that happened a bit in the 90s too, but not like it is now. So, you know, I kind of had that on my mind. And you know, baseball cards are like women, really. I mean, once you see one, you know, once you have one, you want all the rest too. So, hey, I got something cool. I did a video a long time ago where I showed a whole bunch of these. And this is from the Topps vault. Now, back in the 90s, Topps would take things that they had, and I have something here, and they would auction them off. And they come from the Topps vault. This was a page they had of the 1959 cards. For football cards, they used to keep these binder pages. They would glue one here on the front and then glue one here upside down so that you could see the back. And they would keep these in their offices. And so I guess they got overwhelmed with storage and so forth, and they started to auction things off back in the 90s. And I know in the early 2000s when I was collecting, they sold a lot of stuff on eBay. They had the Topps vault, and I used to search them out, and I would get card proofs and all kind of stuff. And one of the things that they auctioned off were the old contracts for players. So this is the Topps vault. They would send an envelope, and they would send the actual contract that a player signed. Now this one is for a Pittsburgh Pirate, Matt Alexander. And it's from 1975, which is interesting because Matt Alexander didn't appear on a 1975 card. He appeared on a 1976 card first. Now, Matt Alexander, many of you will not know who he is. If you collected cards back then, you probably, you know, could see his 1978 card swinging or whatever. You might know him through cards. But he played for the Pittsburgh Pirates and was an integral part of the 1979 championship team. So the Pirates ended up getting a lot of players from the A's. They got, not all at the same time, but they got Chuck Tanner, their coach, after Danny Murtaugh died unexpectedly. They got Phil Garner, scrap iron. They got Manny Sanguillen, who had just gone there for a short stint, and we brought him right back. And they got this guy. And he was exclusively used as a pinch runner. Now, the only card I know of that actually listed a player's position as a pinch runner was Herb Washington here in 1975. Now, when I first got back into the hobby in 2014, there was a phenomenon going on with this card, because this is kind of the beginning of when card rarity didn't matter anymore. It was about grade rarity. And apparently this card, at least at that time, I haven't looked lately, was a low-high grade pop, right? It was hard to get 9s and 10s in this. So people were paying way up for the higher grades in this card. Of course, I never do that, don't care. So I left mine raw. So, Matt Alexander, you know, was the epitome of the small ball the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates played. Because they had, they brought over Phil Gardner, who was a third baseman, moved him to second. His name was Scrap Iron. He was a scrappy player. They had platooned Bill Robinson and John Milner in left field, depending if it was a right or left-handed pitcher. And then John Milner would also fill in at first base when they were resting Willie Stargell. They had Omar Marino, the antelope, who would steal bases. You know, he batted first. Old school batting lineup, right? You got the speedster batting first, not some home run hitting young guy like Acuna. They didn't have that then. So you had Omar Marino batting first in his crouch. And man, he could steal bases. And then you had Tim Foley, who choked way up on the bat. He was a contact hitter and bunted a lot. So they bunt him over. And then at the end of the game, if they needed a run, this is the guy they brought in. So if Willie Stargell got a single or something like that at the end of the game, he was our pinch runner. So I'm very happy to add this. I have a number of these Topps contracts. And I'm very, very happy to add this one. So that's kind of what's been on my mind and why I haven't been making videos lately. I have a few new things that I will be showing on future videos, but I haven't really been buying much. Just been going through a little hobby burnout, and I think that's okay once in a while. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think of the new hobby? Have you noticed channels going away, or do you find yourself like me, thirsting for some refreshing content rather than the same old over and over again? I know, I struggle even doing videos, trying not to show the same thing over and over again, trying to show unique things, giving some history, some educational something or other. Trying to make it so that you get something out of it, and we're just not looking at the same old cards over and over and over. So I'd be interested in your perspective. As always, thanks for watching.